Hi, and welcome to Heroes of Marketing Cloud, the show where we interview marketing cloud experts. I'm your host, Anthony. I'm the CEO and co-founder at Deselect, and today I will be speaking with William McMahon. William runs Gravitai, a marketing cloud system integrator. And in today's conversation, we'll be talking about some of his very cool client work with Hayes, as well as Manchester United. We'll be talking quite a bit about AI, and we also talk about Gravitai being a technology agnostic consulting firm. So with that said, let's jump into the interview. Morning. Hey, William, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Anthony. Great to be here.
It's an absolute pleasure having you over. I know we've been collaborating a bit over the past time, so I feel this visit to the show was long overdue.
It
But
certainly was. Good to meet the master and the creator as well.
Oh, appreciate it. Appreciate it. Well, for our audience's sake, William, could you tell us a bit about your background? What led you to found Gravitai?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I've been in the IT game since I was about 16, or even before then. I first started programming on a Commodore 64 when I was, I think, about 6 to 8. So, pretty much
Amazing.
had my career mapped out for me. Started learning to code when I was very young. When I was in 17, when I was in secondary school, started up my own kind of web design business, won an entrepreneurial award in Ireland for that. Just went into the IT career and self-taught myself business as well as IT, grew through many different roles, from everything from engineering, coding, customer services, you name it. I kind of tried it out, and I kind of kept my career going of just wanting to learn, appetite to figure things out. And then one day somebody put a label on me as a solution architect, and it stuck. I thought it was a great title. So kind of went landed in my feet with ExactTarget in, I think it was 2013 or around then, and kind of switched from building websites and databases to now doing marketing, and really fell in love with the power of automation, the power of marketing, and have kind of started my further career there, and really just saw when I was at ExactTarget, just saw a real opportunity on market where clients were buying all of these expensive pieces of kit and really struggling to get the full capabilities out of them. So they were, I usually describe it as a rocket ship. They've bought the rocket ship to fly to the moon. They sit behind the control panel and they don't know what buttons to press. So started up Gravitai 10 years ago with that focus of being vendor agnostic first off. So it didn't really matter what technology you had. I could come in, understand your business, your processes, the systems, show you how to use it, show you how to get the most out of the system, and get you launched and get you flying. And what started as me as one individual, as a contractor, as I first thought I was going to build a business, it became a pretty big success. We got to the height of about 84 consultants working full time with us. Shrank back down now in the current economic climate, but we're still, I think, about 48 people. So it's kept us in the business for a few years at least, and kept me entertained as well. A lot of good projects, a lot of great clients.
Great, thank you for sharing. I have so many questions about that. Um,
Good.
but first off, just to be a bit of a know-it-all, I saw on your profile it's actually since 2011 that you've been working at ExactTarget.
That's
So
it.
time
Yes.
certainly flies, huh?
It certainly did. It was thanks to Lego that it got me a job in ExactTarget. I went in to do an interview, and I'm a massive Lego fan. Been
Yes.
collecting Lego since I was about 4, and I went in with a little Lego figurine to the ExactTarget office to do an interview, and never did marketing in my life, but I thought, let's be unique. And I put the little Lego figurine down on the table, and I ran the entire interview portraying to be this little Lego figurine, all of its characteristics, how great this Lego figurine was. And at the end of the interview, wished, thanks and, best of luck kind of thing for this great opportunity. And I turned to the interviewer and said, well, I want to leave the little Lego man here with me so that if I don't get a job, at least a little bit of me is left inside the company. I got a phone call the next morning just going, yes, when can you start? And yeah, I absolutely just fell into it. ExactTarget was a great company to work with, which is now Salesforce Marketing Cloud, of course. But it had a great culture. It was, again, new business startup. And I think that also gave me the ambition and drive to really start something with Gravitai, because it was very entrepreneurial. You're pretty much hired for your entrepreneurial flair.
Now help me understand a little bit. Segue though, I'm a huge Lego head too. I used to have that black T-Rex, if you know what I'm talking about.
Yes, I know the one.
Yeah, that was amazing. But there's probably a link between people liking to build stuff at young ages and then ending up in marketing automation. There's a lot of similarities, I feel. But talking about ExactTarget, and I won't dwell too long here because by now it is, of course, Marketing Cloud Engagement, even not even SFMC anymore officially. Most people know ExactTarget as an Indianapolis-based company, mostly a footprint in the US, and I believe even at the time of the acquisition by Salesforce back in 2014, if I'm not wrong.
Yep.
The footprint in Europe was somewhat limited. So how was that back then? Was it mostly UK? What kind of what did it feel like?
Yeah, it was definitely like I was working pretty much on enterprise clients. So I was doing both pre-sales and solution architecture. So going in, helping the salesperson sell it first off. A lot of them were UK, and you'd get the odd European country after that, but it was primarily UK-based clients. They could have been international clients, but again, headquartered primarily here in London. So there were big deals. You could be working on an opportunity for several months before it would come about, and then the design and implementation, there are usually huge, large scale implementations. So your projects could last, 6 months or even 2 years to go through. It's since changed, of course. You've now got marketing, global marketing. Every country goes through it. Every country has their own businesses as well that are big businesses in local markets, but probably not known as international companies. So everybody has seen the power of marketing, what it can deliver, and they latched onto it and they kept growing. So you could see the growth from ExactTarget coming first over to London. When I started, the London office had just pretty much opened. So you could see how it was just spreading across the globe at that time, and it's even gone further now.
For sure. And so across your vast experience, what would you say was your most interesting project or one of your most interesting projects?
Oh God, it's a difficult question, that, because I suppose there's so many. I've been involved with quite a considerable number of projects, and they all vary. So if I narrow it down a little bit into particularly Marketing Cloud tools, we'd done one for Hayes Recruitment. We've been partnered with Hayes Recruitment for a number of years now, and like that, went in to Hayes Recruitment as an individual contractor and highlighted to them is that they didn't need just me as a solution architect. They needed a whole professional service to be able to implement the technology at scale. So we went in as Gravitai, convinced them, that it wasn't just me. We went in and implemented, I think it was about 33 countries, markets that were all operating out of Marketing Cloud. all multilingual. We had a bespoke integration with their own CRM recruitment tool that was taking in all of that data, hundreds of millions of records of job applicants, candidates, job advertisers, you name it, it was all in there. And then started using Marketing Cloud to start personalizing the campaigns so that it was job recommendations based on your interests, your career path. Quite a vast at scale implementation. Lots of other integrations with chatbots. Before AI, ChatGPT, they were doing these kind of chatbot emails that were able to respond out to candidates. Then did their Sales Cloud implementation off the back of that as well. So they expanded quite large their technology kit. So that was probably a really interesting one in terms of scale. But I think other clients we've done stuff with, every single one of them have a unique use case. We've been working with Man United for the last number of years as well. They have some really, really cool marketing campaigns. And again, kudos to the marketing team there because they're always looking at innovative ways of using marketing in sport or even just digital communications in sport. So they have things like match prediction emails or campaigns. They have podcast emails that go out.
Can you tell us a bit about the match prediction campaigns? What's that about?
Yeah, so you can pretty much, like a fantasy football league, effectively, you can, it's not betting, but it is effectively trying to predict your score. So you have a league table on your predictions on any upcoming games, and then it emails you out weekly of your results, where you are on the leader table, how you're progressing through the league. So it's really, really cool stuff. And again, using all out of box kind of Marketing Cloud capability.
So is that all based on match outcomes that are actually stored inside Marketing Cloud, and then I guess using some SQL or server-side JavaScript, you're trying to see who's closest?
Exactly that. So you had to have all of your kind of nominated predictions, your guesses, what you're predicting the score is going to be in the next game, and who's going to score, etc. And all of that then is aligned to the actual scores, how the game went, and it's like that, giving you results. So lots of SQL, and that was one of the things that we helped the guys there in marketing leverage with Marketing Cloud, is just understanding the SQL capability inside Salesforce.
Yeah, that sounds familiar to me. And talking about Hays, you were talking mostly about marketing to actual candidates. Were there any campaigns set up there for marketing to Hays customers themselves, like more B2B campaigns? Because I would sort of suspect that that's part of the complexity of doing implementation for a company in the recruitment industry.
Absolutely, like you've got so many different profiles to target with. So candidates is the obvious one, who's applying for jobs, but obviously you would also have B2B marketing. So you're always looking for the companies who are going to be advertising a job or who have a recruitment need. So you also have strategic accounts on that, because you'll have, let's say, international companies that will be having a role. It could be sat in Boston, but they could be happy for somebody to work in London. So you've got a huge complexity with it. Even on the candidate stage, I think the candidate stages inside is a lot more complex, because which blends in with the B2B side, or the organization side, because you don't want to retarget a candidate who has just taken a job for one of your clients. So you have to learn how to both promote job opportunities, but also make sure candidates aren't just being continuously targeted and poached for the next cherry that's dangled in front of them.
Right, got it. And you mentioned scale. Scale in what sense? Is it scale in send volume, just sheer database, the amount of SQL that's running and maybe impacting performance? Or when you say scale, what are you referring to?
The enormity of markets scale, the enormity of data that is involved like that in jobs, job advertisements and candidates. It's a
Yeah.
pretty big, you could say, data architecture that drives it all behind it. Automation wise, yeah, a lot of it is run through Automation Studio and SQL,
Mhm.
filtered down into segmented audiences for then to use inside Journey Builder. And then within Journey Builder, you've got further complexities and integrations with third-party apps as well, API triggers that
Oh,
go
cool.
out from Journey Builder to again update website personalization notifications as well.
Very cool. Very cool. The last client I ever worked for as a contractor, doing a marketing cloud implementation, it sounded a bit similar in terms of market size, at least. They had 30 markets,
Mm-hmm.
and they had two brands, and then they had both a separate business unit. So for those who don't know, who are listening, a business unit in Marketing Cloud is essentially a separate environment where you can have your own data and permissions and whatnot. So, and they had a separate business unit or BU per transactional and commercial sense. So you had 30 markets times two brands times two types of sending. So we end up, and then plus a few extra for staging and testing. So we had about like 160 business units that we had to deal with. So it was kind of cool. That's something I like. I love to geek out on.
Who's got the most amount of business units? It's
Well, it was definitely not us. I have spoken with one media company, One's at Connections, and it's an American media company that just has many, many, many brands, and they have, I believe, over 900 business units. That's
wow.
the record I've heard of. Yeah.
It has always been the first question or the first architectural decision you make when you do Marketing Cloud is how you structure your business units. And again, it can go down through different brands. It can
Mhm.
go down to country levels. It really falls down to is who you want to have access to what data. Can the data be shared? And if you are sharing within the same business unit, you then pose the risk that like that Germany sends accidentally to your Spanish segment. So segregation into different business units comes in a lot handier, but it also comes at a lot more cost because it's not only additional license on a business unit, it's also additional implementation on a business unit.
Yeah, and one of the big limitations there for me still is that in Contact Builder you can't limit the access to data, but Contact Builder is a much more feature-rich way to manipulate your data, even on a one-by-one record basis.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's still a funny one for me.
You can see the evolution of the system, like certainly from the ExactTarget days. I remember before Journey Builder was even released, we had the problem statement from clients of how do I do kind of a stage campaign based on whether somebody's opened a previous email. And it was a real headache because you'd have to do a lot of automations
Yeah.
and lots of SQL queries to make decisions on the data that has happened. And I remember when they announced Journey Builder on its first release and iteration, and it was okay, but it filled with kind of bugs, and as you get in the beta release. But you could see it how now it's the whole platform has evolved over the years to where it's become now, and it's still not perfect. There's still a lot that you wish the platform could do better, but you can see that it is still being invested into. It's still got its roadmap. You just wanted to get there a little bit quicker.
For sure. Actually, it's fun that you mentioned that because just very recently, I started a little bit of a discussion on LinkedIn mentioning that the Marketing Cloud roadmap is somewhat limited as they announced it at Dreamforce. Although I do think there's like very exciting features that were shared regarding mostly generative AI generated images.
Yeah,
Although from what I gather, you still need a Typeform integration, I believe, for
you
those.
do.
So
Yeah. It's definitely where it's going as an industry is AI. It's going to be everywhere. So
sure.
if you're not using it, your business is going to struggle. So it's jumping onto it now and using it responsibly and wisely. But there's a lot of use cases for it, certainly in customer services and marketing. Customer services like that help and support. Can be all driven through AI at the moment, and even has been. It's always kind of labeled. They just keep putting another label on it, and it's now gone from Einstein to Einstein AI. But
Yeah.
it's evolved. Marketing,
It's
it's going to
actually
keep
even
on.
even Einstein one data cloud. That's the new label they put on top of it. And I think it's so funny because they've done this before with people might remember Salesforce One,
Yes,
Hyperforce, and now they also have Marketing GPT. That's also another brand they kind of released. Genie, apparently Genie got pulled. This might be hearsay and a rumor, so please don't quote me on this. But apparently Genie got pulled because they got into a lawsuit in Japan over IP, and that's why they're not using that brand anymore.
I heard very similar rumors.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
yeah, it's the one thing, and you've even heard it already on this podcast so far, is we keep referring it to as ExactTarget because
Sure.
the traditional, and even Pardot, you'll still refer to it as Pardot because that's what it was or what it's become. So when the names keep changing, it's so frustrating. Like Interaction Studio is one that it's changed its name so often, and it gets very confusing for clients as well because you then don't know what you actually need to buy. You say,
No, for sure. I mean, there's an obvious product marketing benefit to constantly changing a name because it feels like you're constantly pushing something entirely new.
mm,
So that can probably help capture exec mindshare at a large conference.
mm.
But it is such a hassle for the system integrators to have to explain to your customers, no, this is just the same thing as before.
Do it exactly. And the beauty thing of Marketing Cloud as well, you could do a lot with just Marketing Cloud, with it as its engine. So AMP scripting, I remember when I first started Gravitai, it was one of our first customers. It was Just Eat, and they wanted to do a restaurant recommendation. So every time you eat from one restaurant, it would recommend to you either the next week the same restaurant, or it might give you a variety of restaurants. And we went solutioning it with Salesforce at the time, and they were looking. Forget what tool it was, but it was again a recent acquisition that they had for personalization of content. So it was one of their, I think it was an ExactTarget acquisition, actually, not a Salesforce acquisition. But I Go Digital, that's what it was. I Go Digital is what, and I forget what they'd renamed it to. But we went solutioning it with that, and what it couldn't do at the time was geo radius targeting of a postcode, and we were stumped. We couldn't use any of the technologies that it was there, so we ended up building it all in AMP script, and we had this huge recommendations engine that could recommend to you another restaurant in your area based on your postcode, based on the cuisine dishes and interests and types that you had. And there are loads of other different
Amazing,
factors
by the
in
way,
there
that you
as
can
well.
go so far in AmScript.
Yeah, it was a lot of AMP script, but it was just able to use the you could say the underhood power of what was in the system. But that's what I really liked about Marketing Cloud, is that you would find use cases or clients asking for something that would really push the system that little bit further, as to, I've never done it before, but we will figure out a way to do it, because it's got all of the underlining functions that you would otherwise need.
Absolutely. Now, William, one thing that's interesting about your path too is that Gravitai also provides Odoo consulting, and that you are in fact technology agnostic, excuse me. Can you tell us a bit about that? Because that's quite interesting. It's quite unique too in your offering, I believe.
Oh, thank you. Yes, it's we certainly do. We are, like I said, vendor agnostic, and that has just allowed us to be able to help clients assess their technology stack, but also compare what other technologies are there and what's more suited for them. And a few years ago, like a small business startup as we were, we could never afford the Salesforce Rolls-Royce technology stack for our business. We were helping our clients implement it, but as a small business, we just couldn't afford the full stack and capability. So we had kind of settled for, as a new business would, Excel documents for invoices, and then Zero, and then Suite CRM, so whole myriad of tools. And it became such a headache for me as a CEO then, that I had no in-house capabilities. We were always servicing our clients on their technologies, and we had neglected our own. So I went off looking for the Holy Grail, an all-in-one system that I could just put everything into, and found Odoo just by complete chance, and looked at Odoo. It could do a CMS website, it could do CRM, marketing automation, event management, accounting, the whole shebang. And I was like, this is pretty cool. And took a bit of a leap of faith with it. Implemented it for ourselves, migrated our WordPress website over to it, and then CRM, and eventually migrated our entire operation just running off Odoo. And being techies, we self-implemented it. It's like, well, if you're going to want to learn it, you might as well do it for yourself. And just saw how beneficial it has been to us. It saved me about 40 hours a month of my own time managing a business, and just thought, okay, well, other clients could benefit. So we became an Odoo partner about 2 years ago. We're now the fastest growing Odoo partner in the UK and Ireland. We're silver. Yeah, it's I love it. I have a newsletter called Drinking the Purple Juice, which this is what I say to people: is once you drink the juice, you see the power of its capability. It's phenomenal. So doing some talks in Sheffield tomorrow, in London on Thursday, going to Galway in a couple of weeks, and then we have the Dreamforce equivalent of Odoo. It's called the Odoo Experience. Have that in November. So we've kind of really landed in the community. It's an open source platform, so you have a much wider community of developers globally who have used Odoo since it's been around for about 20 years, I think. So it's got a good community. It's still growing, but it's nowhere near the scale of Salesforce. Salesforce clients are certainly the kind of enterprise level clients. Odoo clients are usually around the small, medium business startups.
Gotcha. And so in what case would you recommend a customer to drink the purple juice, or I suppose the orange juice? So that is to say, when would you recommend Odoo or Marketing Cloud? And you cannot start your answer with "it depends."
Oh, that's a great question. Odoo is basically, if you looked at each of the Salesforce clouds of Commerce Cloud, Marketing Cloud, Service Cloud, every Salesforce cloud, Odoo is one application that gives you all of that and more. It has its own accounting application that's the equivalent of Xero. So it does depend on what you're trying to solve. If you're coming at it for a single use case where you're happy with the rest of your technology stack and you're not intending on replacing anything, then an individual stack like Salesforce Marketing Cloud is ideal. If you're considering certainly a wider use case with Odoo, like in manufacturing, it's got its own ERP, or it is an ERP system, so it manages the whole manufacturing process of your business. So it's got a lot wider use cases, and it's certainly a cost-effective solution. It's still there's still a license price to it. So, but it depends. It really depends. That's why you come to Gravitai, because what we end up doing is coming into the business, understanding what are you trying to solve, what do you have already, and a lot of the time through our assessments, you will find out actually you're paying for this capability and feature in a platform you already have. Why don't you utilize that? And if it's a case then of their desire not to utilize it for cost, or whether it's just too unusable, too technical, then we're able to compare what are the other tool kits out on market and make the best recommendation really for them. Because for us, Odoo was the right choice for us. We've heavily invested into it. We've got our entire operations running from one application, and that's really what I wanted. I couldn't keep maintaining, I think it's about 15 different applications is what I had running Gravitai at the time. So I just consolidated it all into one, built a team that then understood that one application, Odoo, that could then maintain it and expand it that way.
Very interesting. And what I really liked about your answer is that you actually start with a use case based answer, not so much, if you're a larger company, you go for Marketing Cloud. If you're a smaller company, you automatically go for Odoo. Because that's a bit how, for instance, in the past, Pardot and Marketing Cloud were positioned. One was for B2B, the other one was for B2C. And to a large extent, that was maybe true. But I know B2B companies who definitely needed Marketing Cloud and vice versa.
Yeah. And I've seen the very same, is that sometimes they've been sold the wrong product and you have to kind of go in and reset the whole thing, reset the relationship, and you try to make best use out of what you have. But then when they start hitting that ceiling, it is a bit of a sit down and have that conversation with, the better application is an alternative application, and just guide them really. Being agnostic, you have to be a trusted advisor. You really have to kind of be on the client side, not on a sales side. You don't want to be selling something for a commission. You really want to kind of show them that the best application is, suited for them, because they're going to have to use it for the next 5 to 10 to 15 years. You don't want them to be stripping it out every 3 years.
Yep. Absolutely. One of my first Marketing Cloud projects was also by far my most painful one once, because the customer had essentially bought predictive intelligence, which is a module. I don't even know if it's still actively being positioned, but essentially
I think it's renamed something else.
I mean, if it is still around, it's definitely been renamed, but I haven't even come across it in any other shape or form, because essentially what it was predictive AI generated personalization for your website based on a product catalog that you had to upload in Marketing Cloud.
That's the one.
And you required professional services to actually get it running. And so here's where it went wrong. the customer expected rule-based personalization
Mhm.
instead
Yeah,
of predictive. They actually sort of imagined or expected some kind of full website personalization module, which it really isn't.
yeah,
And then the second thing is that nobody knew, not even the person who sold it, that realized that professional services were required, and so Salesforce actually had to go out and hire someone to support
to do
us
it.
who was new to the product himself. So that was a very difficult one in terms of managing expectations, that it's known in consultancy.
Exactly that. Predictive intelligence was that tool, actually, I Go Digital, that
Oh, there you go.
didn't do it. It was the very same thing. And the same was said, if you ever remember Audience Builder, as it
Oh,
was.
for sure. I
Yeah,
mean, Audience Builder is sunsetting. It's still around. There's a few hundred companies, maybe a bit less, that still have it.
yeah,
It's a very common use case for us to replace Audience Builder these
that's good.
days.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, we've
It's
actually recently done one of the larger Builder implementations that we replaced. It was a customer that had um only their customer data was, I mean, their customer records were 170 million records,
wow.
and they had one data extension with, I mean, I still have it. I'm not saying this is a good practice, by the way, but they stored 6 years worth of transactional data in it, and it has 1.2 billion records.
Oh,
Um,
delight.
but but we managed to query the thing with a little
Yeah,
bit of custom setup for them, but we actually managed to use deselect to help them segment, and so they're no longer dependent on audience builder, which was a good tool once you got it up and running, but it's very expensive to get it up and running and maintain because you rely on Salesforce professional services.
exactly that. And I think the excitement that marketers get when they get new tools, and certainly with data, is let's put all our data into this.
Yeah,
Let's like you said, it's the resetting of expectation of kind of going,
yeah,
okay, tell us what you have, tell us what you want to use it for, and we'll guide you in how to doing it. And a lot of that time is just bringing over the right amount of data that you need, because that'll save you a lot of other technical complexities in the long run, and probably get you out of a lot of hot water when you get an audit as to why you have all of this data in another system.
yeah, absolutely. William, we've been talking a bit about being technology agnostic. One of the cool things of Salesforce is obviously the AppExchange, basically the B2B app store. What's your point of view on that? And especially what's interesting is you come from the ExactTarget era. I even forgot what the original ExactTarget AppExchange, quote unquote, was called.
Hub
Um,
Exchange, I think.
Hub Exchange.
Yeah.
Yes, that was it. Share your thoughts.
I think it's a very useful market place for integrations and third-party apps. Um, it certainly has grown over the years. It's useful for when you, let's say, have a third party that builds a good application integration. I think for the Sales Cloud service, or core, we'll say, there's a lot more apps, useful apps there for it. But for Marketing Cloud, there's a select few, and Select is one of the good ones that are there that really benefit the users and the marketers. Um, I think trying to keep Marketing Cloud open, or even the Salesforce toolkits open, so that people can build and adapt onto the platform, is a hugely beneficial thing.
Mhm.
Whether it's a freemium app or whether it's a full licensed app, you do find, useful use cases for it. Like I said, I remember the days years ago when even Select wasn't around, and I often thought, like, why haven't Salesforce, or even ExactTarget at the time, why haven't they solved this problem of just being able to just easily
Mhm.
segment? Because as a marketer who doesn't know SQL, and I'm going in trying to teach them all these wonderful, predictive personalization campaigns, and you're trying to teach them AMP script, and you're trying to teach them SQL, and they're looking at you just going, but I'm a marketer. I look at the strategic. So having the tools on like Deselect, it's able to fill the gap, solve the problem that the vendor hasn't solved themselves.
Sure.
And I think maybe one day Salesforce do acquire Deselect and bring it all into platform. That would be one way of doing it.
Well, I think my because I get this question a lot, obviously, but I think my take on this is that whether you're Salesforce, Microsoft, Oracle, at that scale, you've become a generalist and you're trying to cover many use cases across a variety of capabilities and even different products and platforms in themselves. And so, and a lot of your focus is also on security, trust, scalability, enterprise. So necessarily you cannot be best in class for every single thing. So for those companies who do seek the best segmentation solution, the best way to do frequency capping, you name it, that's why they reach out to us, because Salesforce will get you far, but for many not far enough. And that's okay, because it is providing you infrastructure scalability, send volumes that no other platform can, those kind of things. So especially for enterprise, I think it's a wonderful platform, and more for mid-market definitely as well, and more even for smaller companies. So I think that's interesting. I love how you mentioned freemium along the way there. We are actually experimenting with that ourselves. So we're very well known for our free app, the search app that anyone can get.
Great
but
app
now
as well.
for yeah, now for Deselect segment, so which was just originally known as Deselect, now that's split off into just one of the modules we have. We actually have it for free on the AppExchange, although of course it's freemium, so it's limited usage, and then if you really like it, you can still consider purchasing it.
Absolutely.
Maybe as we start slowly winding up this conversation, I do want to dig into something that you mentioned along the road, and we can't escape it these days. It's AI. I'd love to hear, we can talk about AI in Marketing Cloud, but I'm also just very curious, personally, how have you, I'm just assuming you found some use cases for generative AI, ChatGPT, or maybe any other app, so I'd love to hear that.
It's hot topic. It's as soon as I saw it come out last November, I got straight onto it and started looking at use cases, and it has immediately solved so much for me. So a lot of our time that we spend with clients is around writing a statement of work. Before we even start a project, we put into a really detailed statement of work. And these statements of work, or even a response to an RFP, could take, like a response to one RFP before would take me about 7 days, if not 2 weeks to respond. We can now get it down to about 8 hours, 10 hours work through GBT. So it has a huge use case for it. It doesn't necessarily replace anyone, because you still have to be able to compose your scripts. You need to be able to validate what it's asking. The same with development. I'd seen the very same situations where, as a developer myself in the background, you'd be spending hours programming and going to Google, looking up, solutions and code and workarounds. Again, eliminated so much of that. So it doesn't necessarily eliminate you as a developer. It just changes. It's another toolkit that you've been given that just really benefits, and it makes it a lot more efficient. Only last week, I've been training my voice on AI. So what we're looking at as well is AI videos. So demonstration videos, training videos, that kind of stuff. And like that, we've been looking at, the voice of the videos. And the bottleneck, if it was, let's say, one person, you've always got one bottleneck. or do you do multiple people? So we've been exploring AI for that use case. I've been looking at AI in marketing. I think you touched on it earlier as well, about images and content and personalization in your emails. So it's going to be a lot more personalized to you than ever before. Certainly when you talk video, so AI video generation is absolutely crazy scary at the moment, is that you would be hard pushed to know whether you're speaking to an AI or whether you're actually speaking to a real person. And
or even that a 16-year-old kid could actually produce a movie.
a
That I
movie,
find
exactly.
really
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's got its use case. Like it has to be treated with a lot of care, a lot of respect. But like with everything, it has a lot more benefits that, if you know how to leverage it and you're leveraging it for good, you can do a lot of great things with it. And I don't think it should be feared.
Mhm.
It should be respected for sure. And just putting it too good, because it was a bit like marketing automation back in the day when we got Journey Builder, and um, you you basically can automate it. You can reduce down the amount of time it has taken for somebody to do a job, and they can spend that time then analyzing, reflecting, adapting, putting more strategic thinking into it, rather than actually having to build it. And it's definitely the future. I absolutely love it. I'm pretty much signed up to it at the moment.
And my best use case for ChatGPT just does remain synthesis. So summarizing, for instance, transcriptions. So for instance, if this interview, I would like to get the takeaways, I could probably just get the transcription out of Zoom in this case and dump it into ChatGPT.
Yep.
One thing that I have struggled with though is to use it for creative writing. So I'm going to confess, I've actually used ChatGPT for my last, today is October 2nd. It's been a few months though. My last article on my Founders Trail blog on LinkedIn about the founder journey. But I've also used it at some point for a few LinkedIn posts. And it's interesting because I mean, it was a fun experiment. What I did was I copy pasted like my last 30 LinkedIn posts that had
Mm.
good engagement, dumped them into ChatGPT, instructed ChatGPT to deduce my writing style, my my
Your style, tone of voice, and yeah.
exactly, yeah, exactly, and it summarized it well. But then I ask it to write posts, and they're okay-ish based on new content. For instance, I can just copy paste a success story from our website and
Mm.
dump it into ChatGPT and say rewrite this in my style for a LinkedIn post, and it does it, but it's always a little bit below standard. And then I kind of notice, and this is the most interesting bit, the more I repeat it, it's like it deteriorates again.
Mm. Yeah,
Even though I'm in the same session, so it should really be remembered. And even if I ask it, what was my style again? It
yeah.
recaps it well,
Yeah.
but there's something missing there in the creative writing aspect.
There is a in ChatGPT, under the new release settings, that you can give it certain profile information that it will remember about you, so you can tell it about your style. But it's an art form. It's almost another job to become
Mhm.
a script writer for ChatGPT, because
Yeah, a prompt engineer
a
is how
prompt engineer,
Salesforce
that's
calls
it.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because it is exactly like that. You can ask it, or you feed it information to get back, and when you read the responses, it can be well written, but you do have to reprompt it, or you have to kind of shape it into how you want it. um, like that, I've had hit and miss. At the beginning when you're trying it out, you're getting various results and responses back. But as you get better with your prompts and you know how to craft them, you do get a lot of good good replies back from it.
Yeah.
But even if it's just for chatting company, sometimes I ask it some daft questions just to see what he would come back with. There was one use case I tried. last year, so it didn't work out. But Odoo has certifications like Salesforce certifications, but not as strictly monitored. So as you're taking your multiple choice question, I thought, let's see how well ChatGPT answers these, and ChatGPT failed. Like that, every answer it gave to the multiple choice, it would say, this is the answer, this is the reason why. You'd read it and you go, yeah, it's a fair, believable reply. You wouldn't question it. But it just didn't pass the Odoo certification for me.
That's funny. That's hilarious. Yeah, one other cool trick before we move on that I heard is whenever you make a prompt, the last bit of your prompt should be, and I actually should do this more often myself, is okay, after your answer, also tell me how could I have written a better prompt? So the
Yes.
machine instructs you too, and I think that's also really cool.
Or just asking it to confirm does it have any questions? I've noticed that a few times, is that if you ask, you have to tell it what you want, but then tell it to ask you any questions, and it
Yeah,
will come back, and then you can evolve that. It does really help it.
absolutely. William, before we round up, do you have any parting advice for those who are new to the marketing cloud space?
It's a great space to be in. Maybe bad economic climate to be in, but it is one that it's a fun career. You certainly want to have both a creative streak and a bit of a geeky technology streak to succeed in it. Um, keep looking at technology. You keep looking like on ChatGPT and AI. What are the new tools that are out there? Don't be afraid to learn. Just really roll up your sleeves. Start thinking of new concepts and ideas, and wanting to solve how to solve them in Marketing Cloud or whatever the technology toolkit is. That is the only way you will learn. And once you've got that appetite, like I said, it's like drinking the purple juice. Once you've got the appetite and you can see it, it becomes a fun job. You actually enjoy analyzing data, seeing what works, what behaviors result in certain uptakes. It is really, really fun stuff.
It's great advice. Well, thank you, William, for taking the time to be on the show. It's been a pleasure speaking with you.
Absolutely, Anthony. Thanks for your time as well and arranging this.
All right. Thank you for listening to Heroes of Marketing Cloud. I hope you enjoyed the show. We would love to hear your feedback and learn how we can make the show better for you. So please leave a comment wherever you come across this episode, and give us a thumbs up and subscribe if you want to hear more content like this in the future. Thank you.